is the magical empire of China. Now, you think of China as an empire, but they never called themselves an empire. They called themselves, an empire. They never officially called themselves empire because they would never been called China just as like themselves. They never called themselves China. They always called themselves whatever dynasty they were. They were Ming, Manchu, whatever. But this is the first and only time they refer to themselves as an empire, which is the Empire of China, which took place, 1915 to 16, as you can see in the thing. Not to be confused with the Chinese Empire. Yeah, so this is the Empire of China, not the Chinese Empire. Come on, bro. Got it. The Empire of China was a short-lived empire made by President Yuan Shih-Kai to bring back the monarchy in China. He called himself the Hongxian Empire, which was the Empire of the Constitution. He was unsuccessful, and it caused China to get sent into the warlord era. The great president, then second Yuan Shih-Kai, was installed as the second great president of said Republic of China. He wanted to consolidate power, and he removed opposition from, being in office. He got support from European powers and Japan, and before he actually formed it, so this is all during when he was still the president. So he was put in office as the second provisional great president of said Republic of China, consolidated power for himself, and he removed opposition from being in the government. He got European support and Japanese support. In mid-1915, he got Yang Du to rally support in the government to support the monarchy. Surprise, surprise, December 1915, election comes around, and he gets unanimously elected as emperor. He declines it, but later relents it and immediately agrees when the National Assembly petitioned again on the same day. He declared the Empire of China the creation of the Empire of China with himself as the great emperor of the Chinese Empire. And he got the era name, Hongxian, to promote the constitution. However, it was a good 3 weeks before he did the ascension rites. On January 1st, 1916, I guess that makes sense because even in the year, he abolished Manchu clothes and he wanted to revitalize Han clothes with a twist. So he wore the new Han style to his dress rehearsal, but it was sabotaged by his Korean concubine. He then later started handing out titles of peerage to his friends and family, and as well as the people he could buy favors with said titles. Even the Asengyoro family that was in power during the Qing dynasty, living in the Forbidden City, gave their seal of approval to his ascension as emperor. They even proposed a royal marriage of Yuan's daughter to Puyi, the last Qing monarch. Slight problem. On the same year as his ascension rites, he reverted back the system, so it was Hongxian Year 1 instead of, Republic Year 5, because it's been, 5 years since creation of the Republic. But he was opposed by the revolutionaries in said newly reformed Republic, as well as his subordinate military commanders, because they thought if he was emperor and he had, full power, he wouldn't have to rely on the military. So, just like the American Civil War 50 years earlier, province after province revolted and just left the empire, starting with Yunnan, led by the emperor's governor Cai E. Damn. As well as Tangjiao in Jiangxi. So Yunnan was liberated by Cai E and Tangjiao, and the province of Jiangxi was liberated by Li Liechun. He's also republic. These guys are all warlords, but they also believe in the cause because they did help support the creation of the republic, even though it wasn't stable before Yuan Shih-Kai. So the revolting army created the National Protection Army and began the National Protection War. After this started, more and more provinces declared independence from the empire, and the empire's generals, whose soldiers had not received pay since the creation of the new empire, just didn't fight, walking away. It's why fight when you're not getting paid? There's no point. And they suffered numerous defeats, even though they were better trained and equipped than the National Protection Army. After this, they saw how unpopular Yuan Shih-Kai was. So every single foreign power just, withdrew support. Japan threatened to invade, and then they committed to overthrowing him. But faced with universal opposition, the empire repeatedly delayed the ascension rites to appease his foes. Just give up at this point. Don't try and keep some semblance of power. The entire world is against you. The entirety of Europe and Japan, who just beat you like 20 years earlier in the First Sino-Japanese War, are threatening to invade you again. He he started thinking about abandoning the monarchy on March 17th. Like, literally 2 months in, not even 2 months. The whole backlash just started coming at him. It took him 5 days to finally resign. A day later, the Hongxian year was abolished, a republic year was restored. He reigned for a total of 83 days. Pretty impressive, if I do say so myself. After his death on the 6th of June, 3 months later, Li Yuanhong assumed the presidency of the newly reinstated Republic of China, and Yuan Shih-Kai as his premier, restored the National Assembly, and the Provisional Constitution. However, due to the problem of, a good half of the provinces getting, independence from said empire, the central authority was severely weakened. So, the fact that Yuan Shih-Kai did this plunged China into a new age, a new era of warlord. Anyway, that's that.